What's up, friends? Today I'm gonna be sharing with you 3 spooky stories from Latin America. One from Colombia, one from Mexico, and one from Puerto Rico. The first story is very personal to me because I had my own personal encounter with El Silbon, or the Whistler. So this story happened to me when I was a teenager in Colombia. It was my first time going camping with my friends, and let me tell you something, camping in Colombia is not as common as it is in the United States. You cannot find state campgrounds everywhere, and there are not a lot of private campgrounds around. So what my friends and I decided to do was to just take a bus and go outside of the city and find a place in the countryside where we could have that experience. Eventually, we stopped by a farm and we asked the farmer if we could camp in his property. This big Colombian man with a mustache immediately said, "Absolutely, just make sure to stay at least 200 meters from the house so I don't hear your noise at night, but absolutely, feel free to stay here, you don't have to pay me everything." Everything was going great. So my friends and I did it. We set up a tent. It was a struggle at the beginning, but eventually we got it. And we were around the fire, telling stories, roasting marshmallows, all the normal things that you do when you're camping. Eventually, we decided to go back to the tent. It was 4 of us. And sometimes when you go to the tent, you start talking a little bit, even after the bonfire. You start just sharing stories, even inside the tent. And we were talking and joking around. And all of a sudden, almost outside of our tent, we hear this whistle. It was something like, and we were like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" One of my friends jokingly started whistling back. He went like, and we heard the whistle one more time, but this time a little bit farther away. We were terrified and petrified. But we didn't know what was going on, so we decided to open the tent and check it out. Maybe it was the farmer that needed something from us, maybe something was going on, so we decided to open the tent. So we unzipped the tent, and in the distance, about 100 meters from us, not too far away, we saw this figure of a man completely naked with pale skin, crouching and looking at us in the distance. His eyes were completely dark, and because that night there was a full moon, we could clearly see all of his features. He was just looking at us with a smile. We didn't know what to do, so we just decided to close our tent, and we grabbed our pocket knives that we had with us, and we remained silent for the remainder of the night. We didn't know if it was a creep. We couldn't run anywhere because the guy was right in between us and the farmer's house, and there was nobody else around. In Colombia, you never know who or what could be out there, so we just decided to remain still and completely silent the entire night. I remember crying, but keeping all of my sobs from making any noise. We remained like that for the entire night in what is probably one of the longest nights of my life. And then, as the sun was rising, we decided to one more time open the tent. And this time, to our surprise, we didn't see anybody. We quickly grabbed our stuff and ran to the farmer's house. As he was serving breakfast to us, we told him what happened because it was important. There was something going on in his property. It was then when he shared with us the story of the Whistler, one of the oldest legends in Colombia that I had never heard of. It is the story of a man who, with anger and for no particular reason, decided to kill his father. His grandfather, when he saw him doing that, decided to punish him. So his grandpa tied him to a pole and started burning him alive. It is said that the grandfather hired a local witch who cursed the kid to wander around the mountains of Colombia, whistling while carrying a bag with the bones of his dead father. It is said that when you hear the whistle really close, that means he's really far away. When you hear the whistle really far away, that means he's close. And God knows what he can do when he gets close to you. Believe me, that was the last time I camped in Colombia, and it took me a long time before I could ever camp again. To this day, that image of that person only 100 meters from us terrifies me, and is something that I have to live with. If you hear a whistle in the night, just remember to remain silent and still. In my experience, only the dark memory of the whistler will stay with you. Our next story is one of the most famous stories from Mexico, but is also common all over Latin America. This is the story of La Llorona, or the Weeping Lady. The story originates many years ago with Maria, one of the most beautiful ladies of a small town in Mexico. She was beautiful, but she was also very mischievous. She used to escape every night to meet with different people, especially with different men. It is said that in one of those nights that she escaped, she actually met a gentleman that happened to come from a really wealthy family. The gentleman was dazzled by Maria's beauty and decided to propose to her that very same night. With the prospects of living a life full of riches, Maria decided to accept, and quickly after, they got married. The first few years of marriage were very happy for Maria. She raised two beautiful kids, and everything seemed to be going like the life of her dreams. But quickly, her husband started growing tired of Maria. She just wasn't as beautiful anymore for this man who always got what he wanted. So he, like Maria in her previous life, started going out every night to meet all kinds of women and just party without her beloved wife. One of those nights that her husband had left, Maria went for a walk with her two young kids next to the river. Then, to her surprise, she saw her husband walking along a beautiful young woman. Her husband came to the family and, completely ignoring Maria, started talking to the kids. Then he kept going with this beautiful woman to never come back again. Maria was super angry. Maria, blinded by anger, grabbed her two children and started drowning them in the river. She kept pushing them up and down. She was just outside of herself. It was like something had possessed her. She kept pushing and pushing the kids under the water until they stopped fighting and died. Finally, when she realized what she had done, she tried to pull them out of the water, grabbing them from their tiny pinkies. The kids were dead. Maria just started crying and crying and crying. She was angry, she was sad. She couldn't believe the horrible thing that she was done. She never came back home. She just wandered through the forest for years and years, until she died. It is said that today, close to many rivers and ponds, you can still hear Maria crying. And because she's so angry at what she did, she goes around looking for kids. And when she realizes that these kids are not her kids, she just kills them, only leaving a little pinky behind as a reminder of that experience that she had when she herself drowned her own kids. The Weeping Lady is a story that has been used to scare kids over generations all over Latin America. So if you're wandering in the forest by yourself at night, be careful, especially if you're close to a river or a lake. You will never want to hear the desperate cries of these women who lost it all that night. Our last story is not as old as La Llorona and El Silbon. Our last story comes from Puerto Rico and is probably a story that you have heard before. It's the story of El Chupacabras. It is said that the first appearance of El Chupacabras happened in the small town of Canovanas in Puerto Rico. Funny enough, this town is only a few kilometers from an army base. The strange series of events started happening in March. It is reported that up to 150 farm animals were dying in a strange way, something that local farmers had never seen before. The animals showed always the same lesions. They had two big holes on their neck, something that none of the local animals could have done. Initially, people suspected that these killings of animals were done by a group of people in a satanic sect. However, everything changed when a few months later there was an eyewitness to a creature that had never seen before. The creature was human-like, walking in the two hind legs, and skin that was very similar to a dog with mange. The mayor of Canovanas, Chemo Soto, decided to hunt for the beast, and he gathered a group of men in the town to go around looking for this particular beast. Of course, the beast was never found. The appearances of the Chupacabras after the events in Puerto Rico were resembled in many parts of the world, including the United States. It is said that once in a while, farm animals just die in ways that are not normal. The scars are not what a coyote, a wolf, or any other predators would normally leave. Some people argue that El Chupacabras is a creature from outer space, kind of a demonic pet that the aliens just drop on Earth to feed on our animals once in a while. Other people say that there was an experiment that the army was doing near the town of Canovanas, where there is actually a military base, and the creature just escaped after Hurricane Hugo in 1995. Whatever the case, it is terrifying to think of this bloodthirsty creature meandering in the countryside. So keep your eyes open, especially if you live near animals. You never know what could happen to them. Well, let us know in the comments below what you thought of these stories, and if you have had similar encounters of this type. Also, please share with us some stories from your culture. And I hope you guys enjoyed this Halloween special in COnvospeak. Remember, we're a channel about Hispanic culture and Spanish language. If you love these things, if you love these stories, hit the subscribe button right now and give us a big like so our channel can keep growing. Hope you guys have a spooky Halloween and be safe out there.